All right, so we are on to the next principle, number 13. Last one being manage your emotions or they'll manage you. I think that's very important, and I think it's something that a lot of people struggle with. 13, don't forget to sharpen your saw. This is one that obviously I didn't come up with. I'm sure this is one that a lot of people have heard about. And it's an important one because when you become, for lack of a better way of putting it, obsessed with getting better at anything, right? Whether it's fitness, investing, whatever it is, right? A lot of times you can get too hyper focused on, just go, 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 right? And when it comes to fitness, for example, you got to take days off, right? You got to, get massages, you got to stretch, you got to do that kind of stuff, right? And if you push yourself too hard, you're going to get to the point to where you're not even making results, right? So that's a very important concept for people to understand. Now, to be quite honest, this is one that I don't think applies to probably 95% of the population, but as far as people who are very concerned with personal growth in whatever it is, this is something that does apply a lot to people because, again, the average person, I mean, you take working out, for example, right? If you don't even have to become advanced to notice. Even if you're a good intermediate, you take things very seriously. The first something that you'll notice very clearly is probably 80 to 90% of the people that are in the gym, they're just in it for the hell of it, for lack of a better way of putting it, right? They don't really take their training seriously. Now, again, a lot of people show up very consistently, but are they actually progressing? Are they perfecting their form? Are they getting stronger? Are they following at least a moderately strict diet? Like, vast majority of people don't do that, right? And that's another thing that kind of boggles my mind, that why would you show up over and over and over again, but not try and find ways to get better? This is, I mean, in people's jobs, this is another thing that I see just constantly. That, again, I mean, to be fair, there's a lot of people that half-ass everything they do, right? They're, in fact, probably the majority of the population does that. But then there's the people that they don't half-ass it, they show up consistently, but they're not willing to go above and beyond, right? In my opinion, it's maybe 50% of the population half-ass everything, maybe 40, 45. They try, but they don't care about being a top performer, or at the very least constantly trying to improve. And then there's maybe the 5% of the people that doesn't matter what they do, they want to be the best at, or at the very least they want to improve over time. And again, that's me with pretty much everything I do, right? I mean, I don't want to do anything. I mean, I wouldn't put it that way. If I'm going to take something seriously, I'm going to progress at it. Maybe I'm not the best. Maybe I'm not even close to the best. But if I'm not getting better, if I'm not putting the most work in, then to me it doesn't seem like it's worth it, right? I mean, golf is a good example of this, right? I don't golf, haven't in a long time. There's a lot of people that golf just for something to do, right? But are they getting better? And again, the one tough thing with golf is you got to do it quite a bit to be good at it, right? I mean, nobody's golfing, once every couple of weeks. That's a scratch golfer, at the very least. Maybe if you're like a former professional or something, but someone who has never played or hardly played, it's just not going to happen, right? And the reason that I don't get into it is, again, it takes a lot of time and a lot of work, right? Again, I'm just using that as a random example, right? Just a random example, right? Because to me, it makes no sense to go and to shoot, 3-4 over par every hole, like what a lot of guys do. Now, again, a lot of guys go because, again, they want to drink with friends. They care more about the social aspect. I understand that. But again, to me, it doesn't click for me. Other people it does, but it just doesn't click for me, right? I mean, there's cheaper and easier ways to socialize with people, right? I mean, not that there isn't, very cheap courses around in most places, but again, you understand my point. But again, as far as don't forget to sharpen the saw goes, again, the old adage is, there's two people, right? I mean, one guy just goes balls to the wall nonstop, The next guy, he goes slower, but again, every now and then he sharpens that saw and he gets more done because of that, because if you have a sharper saw, you're going to be able to go a lot quicker and you're going to be able to take breaks, right? So in other words, you have to be very tactical with everything you do, right? I mean, again, there's a lot of jobs, right? A lot of jobs where there's people who are putting in more hours than the next guy, but the next guy is doing better because the next guy is working smarter, right? Now, again, I'm not saying that you shouldn't work hard, right? But again, the people that are the most successful are the ones that work the smartest, right? I mean, I've worked in sales before, and to be quite honest, the best salesperson that I came across, at least that wasn't like a really high-end manager or some executive, something like that. The best one I ever seen, they had maybe 10 or 15 salespeople at that place. He worked the least out of any of them, right? The least out of any of them. But he was the best, right? And he was the best because, again, he was naturally pretty good. But again, he put a lot of work in before, right? He sharpened the saw, right? And again, my point is very simple, that the person who works smarter typically will outperform the person who just blindly works hard, right? And again, to bring it back to fitness, again, when you're in the gym, you see a lot of people that are working really hard, but a lot of them, again, they're not focused on their form, right? They're just lifting super heavy again. But again, the guy that lifts with perfect form with a moderate weight is going, on average, because obviously there's outliers, is going to build more muscle than the guy who just blindly lifts a whole bunch of heavy weight. Not only that, the guy who blindly lifts heavy weight is probably going to get injured at some point, right? And then you'll lose a lot, right? So again, this is very, very, very important, because something you see amongst very high-performing people a lot of the time is burnout, right? I mean, how many of these people have you seen that they just drop completely off the map, right? Because, again, they just go balls to the wall for whatever period of time, and eventually it becomes too much. So whatever you're doing, you want to make sure that it's sustainable and it's tactically planned out, right? Again, if you're going on a diet, again, this is one of the main reasons that diets fail, is that people have no specific plan. It's just, I'm going to exercise more and eat less, or eat this or eat that, right? Everything needs to be planned out. Again, if you want to be successful when you're going on a diet, the first thing would be is you need to ask for the help of the people closest to you to help you succeed, because it's a lot easier when other people are helping you than when you're doing it alone. You need to come up with a plan, and you need to know that you're not going to make perfectly linear progress. This is another thing that, again, a lot of people struggle with, is that you're not always going to make perfectly linear progress, right? So that's another important thing to understand. But again, when it comes to the whole diet thing, you need to reframe everything, right? Because typically people struggle with that stuff because they have a ingrained way of thinking that is causing them to have the issue that they're having, right? It's not whatever garbage the average person thinks. It's that, again, you have a bad relationship with food and you have a bad relationship with exercise, and you need to reframe those things. You need to reframe it as being rewarding to eat healthy and rewarding to exercise, right? And how you're going to do that is different with everyone, right? Because what works for me may not work for the next guy. But the key is to reframe things, because how things are framed is the key to getting something done or not getting something done, is typically the key to success. And to improve at anything, you need to improve the framing of everything, right? Because, again, a lot of people, the reason that their diet fails is because, they viewed themselves as fat or unhealthy their entire life. Right? And other people have ingrained that in them. And typically it's the other people that are the biggest factor there, which is why I say that you need to get the people closest to you to help you out. Problem being is that a lot of times they're not going to want to, so you're going to have to be careful with who you ask, right? But again, I'm just using that as an example. So anyway, I don't want to make this too long, so I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to post the original video in the description Also, if you just scroll through, you'll find it. It was about 3-4 months ago. So again, if you liked the video, hit that like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more.